Hey there, I am so glad you're here. Come on in and enjoy Coffee Chat at the Cubby Hole. Okay, you might be thinking, coffee sounds fun, but girl, what is the Cubby Hole? The Cubby Hole was a divine little nudge on my heart, if you will, to build this space in our basement, in our home, where our friends and family could come and receive encouragement and love. And that's exactly what we've been doing. I've always known that the Cubby Hole would have a ripple effect out into the world, that it could bring encouragement and hope, not just to people that could visit here in person. That is exactly why I do coffee chats. I get to take some of the coolest people that are just like you and just like me, who have skill and talent, but most importantly, they have a vulnerable, relatable story that we can all glean some hope and encouragement from. So grab a coffee, cozy up, and enjoy Coffee Chats at the Cubby Hole. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee Chat at the Cubby Hole. I hope you're having a great week. And you know, as I always say, if you're not having a great week or a great day, well, you're right where you're supposed to be, because you know, nothing is wasted. There is a reason for it all. I am so excited today to bring my special guest on, Katie Reynolds. I am so excited to have her here. You guys, listen, I talk to a lot of people on these coffee chats, and I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, and am so excited every week to talk to them. I have to say, I have been especially excited about talking with Katie today. You know why? She is not only just so many amazing things. She is a powerhouse of inspiration. She is, I was explaining it to my girlfriend. I feel like she represents a lot of women, the majority of women in our world, and what we go through and what we feel and what we're trying to process. I'm going to talk with her about this in a minute, but this is what really ignited my soul even more. I mean, I asked her on for a reason, because her story is beautiful. She's beautiful. She is such a kind heart, and just emits hope everywhere. But what really ignited my soul was when I was preparing, I don't know, about a month ago or so for this. And as I do with all my guests, I sent her a text and I said, what would you like me to list as your title? And she wrote back and said, I don't really have a title. And she said, I just feel so almost unworthy to be on a poster with people that are, you know, comedians and authors, and they're established in their craft. And I just thought, girl, what we quote unquote do doesn't matter. She is so inspirational in her life. And I know their life, and I know what she does. And I thought, isn't that the truth? Don't we all go through that? No matter what we do, even if we quote unquote have one title or two titles or five titles, it doesn't matter. We are all beautiful, beautiful children of God. And He has called us all. He knows us all by name. He knows our calling. He knows everything about us already. And it doesn't matter what we do. I'm just going to say it. I've been using the phrase do all week, because I'm telling you, it gets me in an uproar, because I'm walking around saying, what do I do? What's the next thing I do? And I have actually had to find it in myself to slow down, step back, and quit doing all the do and trying to be and trying to do. To just sit in the presence of God and say, I know I am loved. My title is your daughter. That is what my title is. And I cannot forget that. And I can't wait. I'm so excited to talk with Katie right now. I'm going to bring her in right now. My beautiful friend, live from Kentucky, Katie Reynolds.
Hello.
How are you, girl?
I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh, I am so excited to have you here. Look at that back wall. Tell us about that. That is, I just love it. It just describes your life, all that.
We love art. And so my family, we have 6 kids, and we constantly just keep art in our house. Everything on my walls is created by us. I feel like that's what should be on the walls versus store-bought stuff. Plus, it's cheaper. So,
hello, it's the best part. Yeah,
right.
No, the best part is that it's reflective of you guys, but it's such a bonus that it's yes, definitely.
So it's our gallery wall. It's our gallery wall.
No, wait a minute. Is that it? What does that say? Feel like? What is that? Is that in Michigan?
I don't know which way to go. Feel like home. Because I live in Kentucky, but my real home was Michigan, with where my family was. So I've got my little Michigan Go Blue M there.
Go Blue. I love it. You know, we're Michigan fans, and we can't wait to have them back on TV to see that.
Oh my gosh, I know. I'm so glad they're going to come back.
Yes. When Michigan football and Costco samples come back, I know we're all going to be all right.
Costco samples.
Come on, what in the world? Okay, well, they'll be back. I just have faith. Oh, I cannot help but there's so many things I want to talk to you about. I can't wait. I know this hour is going to fly by. But what I want to start with is what I was just saying. I can't bury that headline because it's so powerful what you said. Yeah. Can you just tell me about that for you? Like, what went through you? What were you thinking in that moment, that the real truth about you, it might have been a limited belief, but just tell us what you were feeling in that moment and those thoughts.
Well, I'm looking at, I watch your show. Your show is very, very good. And when I'm seeing these people on your show, I can't believe the quality of stuff that they're sharing. And when you asked me to be part of it, I was like, me? What do I have to share? I'm just a mom. Like, of course, we all have titles. Everybody has titles, their job, and et cetera, but my most important title is just a mom. And when you sent me that text message, I literally had a panic attack because I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to say? I don't have a PhD or an MD or anything like that. And it was my fear of not being worthy to share, my heart and my story. God calls all of us. He really does call all of us. That's what I've learned in this last week since preparing for this episode is he does call all of us. We all have a story to share. And we all have something that can help other people, no matter where we are on our walk of life. So
see, just what you said right there, that is what I know is going to resonate with so many mamas that may be home with their kids. I mean, I know I took a break there. I was at home for many years with my kids after being in the corporate world, and I went through that, Katie. That's why I think it pierced my heart so much. I used to say, I'm just a mom. I'm just home. I remember there was a time where I remember talking with, I went and talked to somebody because I had so many feelings to try to process. And I remember telling this counselor that I would not scrub floors. I was just talking in casual conversation, but I would not scrub floors in front of my girls because I didn't want them to think I was less than. And I was moving on to another topic, and he went, whoa, wait, what did you just say? And I'm like, because I don't want them to think less of me. He's like, we're going to stay right there. Back that. And now I'm like, I clean, whatever, because I had to separate my worth from what I quote unquote do, my worth, and a lot of women. And I think that's maybe what you're getting at is sometimes we attach our worth to what we do, and we're just this or we're just that. Let me just tell you all something about Katie. She is not just a mom. And if we are, that's what we are. We're just a mom. There's maybe not some, beautiful, maybe like story to unpack. I mean, there's a lot of stories to unpack in our lives, but I mean, we could be just a mom and be just fine. And the impact that we're making on those kids and showing them what true love is and being present to them, that's just not very simple, right?
Right.
But tell me, okay, so you and Both you and Sean are my friends. I just love you guys. Sean is a touring comedian outside of a pandemic.
Yes.
Right. Decided, it just felt led that it was time to quit his full-time job. He ended up touring with Tim Hawkins and Anita Renfro. You are so supportive of him. I know this is a loaded question because there's so much to go over, but you supported him and said, go, it's your time. You've been called to do this, but y'all have 6 kids.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hard work that's going to be coming your way. Just give me just your raw thoughts about all of that. Where were you in that? How did you process that? How did you manage all of that?
Well, when Sean came to me, Sean's been doing comedy as a side thing for over 10 years. Mm-hmm. And it was when he first started doing it, I loved it because he had found a passion that he really loved to do. And he worked so hard for our family. I love that he found something that gave his soul joy. So that was an easy jump on and support you, right? Mm-hmm. When he started, he worked at retail, so he worked over 50 hours, and then he also started traveling and doing comedy. I was like, this is getting a little hard. Yeah. This is definitely getting a little hard. It's harder to support when you're not home and you're not being there in the day-to-day. But I also still felt strongly, as a wife, I need to support Sean and help him with his calling. We still help each other make sure that we're getting to where we are supposed to go, which is heaven. But ultimately it was making sure to support that. Then when he came to me and said, I'm going to do this full time, I had, again, another panic attack. I have many of those, by the way.
What time? I mean, I joke about snap maps, that kids use snap maps on Snapchat and snap map. I'm like, I say to women, where was your snap map? Like, where are you? Like, where did you snap? Because I snapped at Kroger today. I snapped, I'm snapping all, yes, those little panic attacks. They're beautiful little.
Well, it's like a sinking in your stomach, but also like, you have to do it, right? I knew I had to support Sean in that. Yeah. I also trust him fully. So I knew that he was not going to jump until he was ready to jump and until our family was ready to jump. But it was definitely a struggle. And then also watching him, and I know other women can relate to this, watching him be on stage, cheered for, everybody's super Sean fans. And I'm in the background, feeling as if I'm in the background, doing all of the hard stuff, right? The behind the scenes stuff. It really could also be used as a little bit of temptation for me to get in a really dark, awful place, because you have to feel that you are appreciated. You don't have to. That's a human quality. But we all love to feel appreciated, right?
Right.
And watching my husband go be this, world famous, not world famous.
He is
pretty famous.
He is.
Comedian was kind of hard to take a back seat to. So, it was a lot of prayer, a lot of trust in Sean, a lot of trying to work on our communication too. Like, I had to learn how to say, okay, it's my turn now. I have to go take a day and do my stuff. And it might not be as important as yours, but it's still important stuff to me. So for a little while, I think I lost myself in that because, Sean, I was so focused on getting Sean where he needed to be. You tend to take a back seat.
You do. Yeah, you do. And it's that feeling all the while going through all that, like you said, even the appreciation. That's why I do love the relationship with Jesus, because when I go down that road, I remember, I'm loved and I am called, and you do get caught in that fleshy feeling of the appreciation. And there's not a lot of appreciation, when you're a mama, and then you want to, oh my gosh, I bet a lot of women relate to this. You want to go into that martyrville where we're doing and doing and doing. They're not even asking us to do it. We're doing it. And then we snap and we're like, I do all of this for all of you. And it's like, oh my gosh. Then we have to back off and say, mama needs a break, because it's easy. That's an easy reaction when you feel like there isn't any appreciation. And girl,
I am the queen of martyrs, Marlo.
Oh, we all are. It's easy. I did it last night. I was tapped out, exhausted, and I wasn't the best version of myself. I was like, this and this, and why is the kitchen a mess? And some days are so easy breezy. We're like, why was I upset the other day? But we have to give ourselves grace. The
Right.
Bible is loaded, loaded, loaded. Just Google grace in the Bible and just look up. I mean, you don't have to look it up. It'll appear there for you. We have to give ourselves grace. And that's,
Right.
I'm praying that the mamas get from this. Even the dads, there's a lot of stay-at-home dads. This isn't just for women. There's people.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anybody out there that's searching for what it is that your calling is all about, or you just feel like you're doing something and you feel like it's grieving your heart, you're not alone. You're not alone. Katie, I remember when we were just talking about Sean being on a stage.
Mm-hmm.
I remember leaving my career and then choosing to stay home. We had kids, and then we had 2 more babies back to back. And year after year after year, I was doing that. And David walked through me with it, but it was like I was just so emotional often. And I remember one time standing by the kitchen sink, I was watching Ellen, and I just busted out in tears. And the night before, we saw a movie, and the woman said, the guy proposed to her, and she said, "I will not die drying a teacup."
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw that the night before, and then I'm watching Ellen going, I love Ellen. I want to be doing what Ellen's doing, and I'm trying. I'm washing spaghetti out of a pan, and I just lost it. And that, and I know that moms can relate with what you're saying in that story. And we are so much more than our work. Our work is so much more than what we do. And Katie, those kids, you're going to leave, like you said, you were referring to Sean as world famous. He's very talented, and he's very, very, very good at what he does. And yes, he has that element of celebrity as he travels around. But in addition to that, I'm sure he says this to you all the time, the impact that you're going to leave on all those babies, no matter what age they are, is forever. I love that it says you are my sunshine right behind you. I know that you bring that to them every day, and they bring it to you, and that you can't measure that. There's no way to measure. Yeah. So I love that you shared all that. Is there anything else that you want to talk about with regard to that?
Well, I just loved what you were saying about when you were standing in front of the sink, and that teacup quote was great, because I think too, I have always wanted, my goal and dream has always been to stay at home mom, right? And I've had to work. I was able to go part-time so I could be at home more, but the dream is not always what we want it to be, right?
Right.
It's hard. It's really hard. In a perfect world, I'm going to be that Martha Stewart mom, right? I was talking to you earlier about the Facebook mom. I'm going to show everything and show all the wonderful, amazing things I'm doing with my kid, like my art wall, right?
Right.
But the day in and day out, everyday moments where there's failures, and where you're sitting and crying at a sink, and where you're really feeling that you're not good enough, and that this is also not what you want. Like, I thought I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but now I have no dreams. I'm not a comedian. I'm not a world famous. I don't have a title. I'm freaking out about not having a title. All of those things are also part of really trying to live sacrificially for other people. And that is not easy. Being a mom is one of the biggest sacrifices you'll make. Mm-hmm. But it's also one of the most rewarding. Mm-hmm. And, you just hope that you do it right. And all the little souls that you're entrusted with will end up in heaven with you, right? Like, right. That's the goal, is making saints. That, I'm Catholic. That's a big thing for us, is making saints. Mm-hmm. So it's hard. It's hard work. And it's not the work that you're going to get accolades for, or pats on the back, or big rewards for, but it's important work.
It is such important work. You are an amazing mama. You guys have 6 kids. I love watching all your posts about your kids. They're all so special, and they all have their own special journey. You often post pictures of your little Lucy, she's 4. And last picture I saw, she had a lampshade on her head. And you know what? It's what I'm talking about. You embraced that. You're like, yeah, her sister wanted to take her to the store, right? To sell something special. And she had a lampshade on her head. And you're like, yeah,
It was an adorable lampshade, I will say.
And she is stinking adorable. They're all just such beautiful kids. So yeah, it was so adorable. You also you speak at conferences. You are a minister to young children. You specialize in the behavior of children. So that's why I want to talk about that in transitioning over to the day when you guys met a little boy that changed your world. All of your kids changed your world, but there was a day when you met a little boy. His name is Keegan.
Mm-hmm.
Would you please just talk about that in conjunction with the fact that you also specialize in behavioral development of children? Tell us about Keegan.
Well, I've worked in early childhood education for 20 plus years. I started as a preschool teacher, moved up to a director, and then ultimately I ended up managing 4 different centers. Part of my job was going into classrooms and helping the teachers with classroom management and also helping kids with behavioral challenges. There's so many more behavioral challenges right now than ever before. And these kids are my passion. Like, they drive most teachers crazy. They were my favorites. I love them. The kids that threw the chairs, that dumped over shelves of toys, that threw fits for a long time. I mean, those were the kids that really I was called to help. And I was very successful. I still am pretty successful doing that. Well, Keegan came along when I was director. He started at my center. His biological mom brought him in. He was about 2.5 years old, and they started at my center. Through this time, there are certain kids that you just attach to, and Keegan was one of those kids for me. He struggled in classroom. He had some behavioral issues. His mom was very, very young. She also struggled with substance abuse, and we were watching Keegan closely because we saw some neglect and abuse happening there. We also wanted to really make sure that he was safe at all times. So I kind of brought the mom under my wing, and I befriended her. We talked. I hired her a little while at my center to do little odd jobs. And through that, I really realized how much she was kind of crashing and burning. One day she came up to my office and she told me that, she had this issue that she was going to probably end up having to go to jail for. And she said, I really don't want to be a mom. I feel like I'm going to relinquish Keegan to foster care. They had a family, but nobody in the family wanted to step up. And before I even knew what I was saying, and I truly believe this was God talking through me, I looked at her and I said, we'll adopt him. Now, to give you some background, we had 4 kids at the time. My youngest was 18 months. Sean, I'd been talking to Sean about Keegan, but we had never discussed this. Adoption was not in our plan. We had a big family already. We were paycheck to paycheck. We lived in a 1,000 square foot home. There was not room for an extra child, let alone money for an extra child. But for whatever reason, my heart, soul, gut, everything in me was telling me Keegan belonged in our family. And so that night I went home. I very, very scared.
Like I went to the grocery store.
I tried to do everything except
and I promised somebody we were going to adopt their child. I want to know how this went.
Basically how the story went. And I told Sean, I said, I really feel called that we're supposed to adopt this kid. I fully expected Sean to be like, you're insane, woman. But instead he looked at me and he said, why don't we go out to dinner and we'll talk about it? And I was shocked. I was scared because I was excited, scared, nervous, all of the feelings all at one time, which is also, I think, a real big clue that you're doing the right thing, right?
Yeah.
You're literally on a cliff getting ready to jump off. That's how we felt. So we went out to dinner in Lexington. Just again, some little background. There is probably 50 restaurants on this one strip of road. And me and Sean picked to go to this restaurant called Johnny Carino's. And we went into the restaurant to discuss adopting Keegan. They sat us in the back of the restaurant. We sat down with our menus, opened them up, and all of a sudden I heard, oh my gosh, that's Miss Katie.
Come on.
And we looked right next to us, and Keegan and his grandparents were sitting right next to us.
I did not. Literally,
totally.
I did not know that.
It was my Sean said he looked across the table at me and I went completely pale. And he was like, what's the matter? And I'm sitting with my menu up like this so they can't see me. And I'm going, that's Keegan right there.
That's I don't want to ever say unbelievable again, because it is so beautifully believable. That is that Holy Spirit working in our lives, that you can't manufacture that.
You cannot. And we ate, needless to say, that's the day Sean met his son. We ate dinner, we couldn't really talk about it at the table, but we went in the car after our dinner and we sat down, and Sean, who is really not a huge believer in miracles per se, literally looked at me and said, well, that was God. And he said, we have no choice. This is what we have to do. And at that moment, we just decided that's what we're going to do. And we started the process. We were totally unprepared, scared to death. I doubted every single day. There were so many moments where it was like, this is not going to work. This is not going to happen. But through the process, we just had faith, and little by little things came into place. Like when I feel strongly that when you have a calling, if you say yes, God opens doors for you.
Oh, yes.
And we had, like I told you, 1,000 square foot home, no extra income. We lived on an unfinished basement, and somehow my father-in-law came into some money and helped us renovate the basement, which gave us another bedroom. My girls at Tots Landing, our daycare that I work at, they, on minimum wage jobs, pulled their money together and bought us a set of bunk beds.
All right. I didn't know that.
Yep. The lawyer that we found was a previous daycare center family of mine. They had adopted and fostered children and adopted theirs. And then the adoption cost $5,000+ because this was a private adoption. It was uncontested, so it was cheaper than normal, but still $5,000 when you're living paycheck to paycheck. Where's that coming from?
Where? Right.
And to this day, Marlo, we have no idea where that money came from. It just was there. Nobody gave us a check. We weren't in debt. We weren't eating ramen noodles for months. Somehow that money was there. So everything fell into place, and Keegan joined our family.
The money, what do you say the money just, what do you mean by that?
The money just appeared. We can't really recall how we paid for this adoption. I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds like unbelievable, but looking back, I have no idea where that came from. We definitely didn't have it. So, and we don't remember getting a big
I think Katie is frozen, but I am still chilled over the story. I cannot, I say that I cannot believe it, but I absolutely can. What Katie's talking about, and I'm sure she'll be back in a second here, it just reminds me of the story of just God providing the manna, the food, the daily bread when we need it. We're not always living every single day in absolute abundance. Sometimes we are, but when we have faith, and it's unbelievable, like they were literally given a moment of a miracle in a restaurant. She went out. Now she's on her phone. Really?
I had to get rid of my phone.
Awesome. Look at it. Well, now we have a whole new angle of the wall. Perfection.
A whole new angle. I'm going to try to set my phone up so that it won't move around for you.
Okay. Oh, you're fine. Hey, I was just talking about when God provides the manna. I was just thinking of Jesus when the people around him are like, hey, we're out of bread. We don't have any fish. We've got a couple. Okay, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And he multiplied it. And they were like, it reminds me of what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Where did it come from? Where did it come from? It's our daily bread. It's the manna.
Yep.
And it's there. It's there when we have that faith. And even sometimes there's people that they don't have faith, but he provides. He knows the plan. He is the ultimate provider, and it was there. So that is an incredible story, Katie.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So then you bring Keegan.
We bring Keegan home. First year was awesome. We celebrated all the first together. It was a really great bonding time. But by the second year, we definitely started noticing some effects of this trauma that he experienced in the first 3 years. And when I say we experienced some effects, it was pretty extreme. We were getting phone calls every day from school. He was throwing violent and aggressive fits for hours. There was lying, there was stealing, there was manipulation and triangulation with me and Sean. This was often happening with just me at home. So it really did appear as if I was crazy. We couldn't find anyone to help us. And it went from being an amazing calling to holy crap, what did we just sign up for? This is a nightmare. This is nothing like we ever thought it was going to be. In that first year, I had so much pride about what we did, so much arrogance about what we did too, that by the time it started not going well, I was humbled. And not only was I humbled, I was totally embarrassed, ashamed. I can do all of these miracles at my job that I'm at with helping kids' behaviors, and I can't fix my own kid. We couldn't go out in public. I mean, it was really bad, and this lasted for years. And when I say years, multiple times a week. So it was very, very, very difficult. I couldn't fix him. That was my job. So a big sense of failure was there, being really angry at God. I totally lost that, like, look at our family. Aren't we so fantastic? Like that Facebook family was totally gone, which was how I didn't realize it before, but that's how I brought value to myself, right? I brought value to myself by what my children were putting out in the world. My children were a reflection of me, and poor sweet Keegan, who I loved with all my heart, was literally a complete disaster in regard to behavior. And it was a very big struggle. I also felt like, maybe a little bit again, like that story of you standing at the sink. We answered the call, and where the hell are you?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
You're supposed to be here. You asked me to do this. I'm doing this. And
Now
this
what?
is how you're repaying me.
No.
Like, all of my children started suffering. I got pregnant at this time with our 6th baby, Lucy. And it was so bad. I remember crying when I found out I was pregnant, sobbing, because I was concerned we were going to be able to keep her safe in the house. And I just kept thinking, why are you doing this to us? I'm not prepared for another baby. This is going to hurt. This is going to create even more chaos than what we already are in. So angry, Marlo. I can't describe. Right. I can remember many conversations.
Very relatable.
Oh yeah. Many conversations I had with God where, I talk to him like he's my bestie. So he got cursed out many times.
You know what? He called us to doubt, because when we're doubting, we're digging in.
Yep.
What do you have for me in this?
Right.
Because we know we can't possibly just leave us alone. So, abandoned.
Right. Oh, totally abandoned, alone.
I just want to read this really quick. Hold on one second. I was praying this morning out on my front porch, and I said, God, what do you have for me that you want me to see? And I just was called to open to Ephesians 1:5, and it said, in love, he predestined us to be adopted as his sons through Jesus Christ in accordance with his pleasure and will. We are all that adopted child. And it's just so reflective of the fact that we all belong, whether we feel like we don't. We are that child of God. And we are all our own version of what Keegan was he was speaking for all of us, because we are all maybe an unruly child, difficult people, we don't know, he maybe doesn't know what he's going to do with us. We are all that's what I love about the story of Keegan, is it reminds me of all of us.
That's a really great reflection, Marlo, because I can imagine God felt the same way about me so many times in my life as I felt with Keegan. There's so many times all of my children, but Keegan during this time, I wanted to just shake his shoulders, right? God so often wants to shake our shoulders and just be like, wake up. What is important?
It was so true. Like you, and I got to go back a couple steps here with you because you're saying some pretty mighty stuff. That first of all, one of the things that we go through maybe with teenagers, and we probably did the same thing, is that pride. Like the whole world revolves around us, we're prideful, like you don't know, or I'm going to show up and everything, how they're showing up in the world. And what you just said is so true, and it's what we all can relate with, hopefully, is that you were just talking about being prideful. Yeah. And you went into this, and I love that you shared with me on the phone the other day that you went into this and you said, I'm doing a good thing. And then, oh my gosh, you felt like the rug was pulled out. And you're like, what's going on? I did a good thing. And you said you felt like your pride was damaged. Like, you're like, what's going on with this? And you went into it probably thinking, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to teach Keegan. We're going to take him under our wing. We're going to show him so much. So God has a plan. Yes, you did. You've given him so many things, and you've taught him and all of your children so many things. But boy, do they do a heart reconstruction on us. God does a heart reconstruction on us through them. He taught you some stuff. He taught you about doubt. He taught you about anger, about worry. He taught you how to, if there's a bigger picture in the story of Keegan, he taught you that without him even knowing.
Yep. A lot of parents who discern adoption feel like they're going to save a child, right? Mm-hmm. I did. Personally, I won't say we, I'll say I felt like we were going to save this child. We're going to show him love. And through that mighty power of love, we're going to make him the greatest child in the world. But we didn't save him. He really saved us, because God put him in our lives to call us to greater holiness. All of us, from Keegan all the way up to me and Sean. Every single one of our family members have been transformed by this little boy, and transformed for the better. It's just so easy sometimes. And I know there are so many moms out there who feel like their children have disappointed them or have hurt them or aren't living the life they taught them how to live. And I can remember, and I hope this can reach those women. I remember being in church one day, sitting before Jesus and pouring my heart out to him and just crying and just so abandoned. You said that word, alone. And I can remember, it was another God moment. I've had a couple miracles throughout this process, and this was one. I literally felt the words of God. I felt it was God talking to me. And he said to me, your job is to love him, not to fix him. And that was a transformative moment in my life, because up until that moment, my children were there for me to get them to heaven. Mm-hmm. I needed to get out of God's way. Yeah. I needed to get out of God's way and let God do the work and use me how he needed to use me to bring them, however slowly, however quickly, at whatever pace he decided, to where they needed to be. The loss of control with that was really difficult for me, because I didn't realize up until that point what a control freak I was. Mm-hmm. And how much I really felt like, and how much I burdened myself with that heavy weight of, these kids are mine to get to heaven. No, they're not mine.
Right.
They're God's, right? They're God's. They're with me. He brought them to me, but they're his. Mm-hmm. And that was really, I wish it was easier. That was really hard for me to accept that. And, things with Keegan continue being challenging. They will probably always continue being challenging, but I have to continue looking for God in the hard, right? When you're suffering, or where you feel like there are disappointments, or where you feel like you're abandoned or alone, if you're not looking for Jesus, you won't find him. And there's
But we have to seek, we have to ask, we have to surrender. Yes.
We have to surrender, and it has to be a daily task to ask, show me where you're showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see where you're showing up. And, I wanted to share just a couple ways. I feel like he showed up. He gave us a great therapist. He gave us a great psychiatrist. The therapist I see now, all the time I see. He put me in the hands of a great doctor who ended up helping me with some anxiety that I had through all of this, and a little bit of secondary PTSD. All of those things he's given us. He gave me church sisters that I walk with who help me and pray for me. My job is a huge blessing because although for a while I felt like a failure, my job gives me so much flexibility and I have so much support there. My family and friends. I mean, you look at the people God's put in your life, those are his ways of telling us, I'm with you. You're not alone. Mm-hmm. Your suffering is not in vain and you're not doing it by yourself.
Yes. And that goes back to that story of the manna. Like we expect this big bolus dose of blessing and answers and clarity to drop down on us. And what you're saying is still so reflective of that. It's the daily bread. It's what you are, and you have to, you ask for it. Sometimes we receive it when we didn't even ask for it. But when we ask for it, we receive that. In his time, it's his will, but we do receive. And I love that. I love, you know how many people, and this is me included years ago, before I had a mindset shift and a switch in my lens, the way that I viewed things, is that I would have, if I were in your situation, I would have just continued to just dwell on what was wrong. And this is ridiculous. See, this is how God works. I didn't ask for this. You could have done that and you didn't. And that is why when I asked you if you would be on this show for so many other reasons, this is what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. How do you even put a job title on what you reflect, the perspective that you bring? You can't.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. It's so truth-filled, and we need that.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Well, and hopefully people can see through this that I told you, I didn't want this to be like a savior story, an adoption savior story, which so many times some people will do. I wanted this to be
it's about your savior and the way that little boy saved you and y'all. But anyway, go ahead. It is
my salvation, not Keegan's. Very, very true on that. But it's those things that we all have to hear, because my struggle, like I can imagine, because this is what I do when I listen to shows like this. I go, oh, well, she's lived such a harder life than me. I don't have anything like that. I should just suck it up and deal with it. But no, every woman or man is walking through, this keeps coming to me too, walking through their own personal Calvary, right? We're all walking through that.
Yeah.
And there's no figuring out who has it harder or who has it worse. Of course, you can look at black and whites and see people have it harder than you, but you are in your moment and it's difficult for you. You just have to look and find the light. Everything that's happening in the world, Marlo, holy moly, right? Mm-hmm. There's so much darkness.
I know.
And I really just feel like God has been calling us to this light, to this awakening of what's really important, to focus on the things that are unseen, not on the things that are seen. COVID, I listed those miracles. One of the biggest miracles was COVID. And I hate to say that, sorry for if that upsets anyone or hurts anyone, but it made us focus on our family. Mm-hmm. It gave us a moment to pause, be still, be still, be still. Hear me, see me, look for me. All of those things have been so present during this time. And really just focusing on what's important, keeping your eyes on God, keeping your eyes on the prize. That's what it is. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Well, first of all, there is nothing wrong with saying that at all. There's so much goodness. There is. There's no denying. There's been silver linings everywhere. And I can't help but just tag it as mindset shift and in our lens. We can't deny that we look at the world in a different way now. We can't deny it. And hopefully we're seeing things as an appreciation for things that we grieve that are different with this pandemic. But it's so reflective of what your story a parallel with the pandemic. You had to grieve things that were, you had your life was going a certain way, and then you were grieving. Then you did what we do often do. It's like a double dose of the emotion, or whatever the emotion it is. We give it we attach a separate one to it without even knowing it. You're going through your thing, so you're grieving. You're going through all this, and then you tack on the emotion of feeling guilty over what you're feeling. So you've got a double dose.
Right.
And then we don't realize what we do to ourselves. It just compounds. Is your phone touching something by chance?
Maybe. How about that? Is that better?
It's a little bit of a click.
Okay, let's see if that works.
Pull it down a little more so we can just see you. There we go. And maybe it was like bouncing on. There we go.
There, is that better? Okay, sorry.
No, it's
Technical difficulties.
It's fine. We can hear the story through the click. That's what your story is all about. All the noise that's going around, we're honed in on the message. We got it. So anyway, yes. So the compounded emotion. Mm-hmm. You're already feeling the emotion of grief because you had your family was going a certain way, things were going smoothly. Now you do this, and you're compounding the pressure on yourself, the grief.
Right.
And then having to find a whole new way of understanding and learning of how to deal with all of this. What do you, I want to go back to initially when you were talking about being a spouse that's supporting your spouse emotionally. How did you process through that? And just your
process as far as
just like how did you get to the other side of what you were feeling with regard to your worth feeling damaged, your not damaged, but just feeling a sense of unworthiness maybe, or that you weren't as quote unquote important. What did you do to work through that?
Well, I think I think I'm still working through it, if I'm being honest. I think that it's a constant struggle for me to always be living with selfless love without having to require anything in return. So I think I'm still working through that. I think when you are a background person in your family, okay, and I don't say that with any kind of I don't feel weird about that. It's just what I am. That's who I am. And I'm comfortable doing that now. But when you are a background person in your family, so many times you just have that temptation to go there, right? And I just have to keep reminding myself that what I'm doing is worthy, is important, is life-changing, although it's not always upfront. Mm-hmm. I don't have a good answer for that, Marlo, because I think I'm still trying to work through it.
You have an amazing answer. You have an incredible answer because you are working through it. That's the truth. That's your answer.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. It's a work in progress. And there's just, I think as women, we're always constantly seeking approval. We're seeking approval. We're seeking admiration. We're seeking to be these brilliant women without recognizing that we are. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even sure I feel like I really am, truthfully, but I think that's just the process that you have to walk through. And I know God will show it to me, and he'll show up in different ways. And there'll be days I feel like it and days I don't. My internet going out in the middle of this didn't make it feel like that.
It's real life. That's what I love about this show. It's just about real life, and real life stuff happens. And, it is what it is. And it's like I said, we can all work through the stuff going on around us. It's just honing in on the message. Keegan was diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder. Is that what it's called?
Yes. Thanks for sharing that. I forgot that part. But yeah, he did finally get a diagnosis of reactive attachment disorder, which can happen with kids from trauma. It's very difficult, and it's very difficult to find people who are able to treat that. Mm-hmm. Like I said, miracles happen. We got people in his life who are helping treat that. And we're just moving forward. But there's just so many people who have kids from a lack of attachment background. Mm-hmm. There's hope. To all the adoptive mommies or daddies out there, there's hope. It's mm-hmm. going to be a hard struggle, but it'll be a worthy struggle.
Mm-hmm. For sure, without any doubt. Tell us about your other kids. I mean, they're all amazing. I love watching their journeys. Like I said, through Facebook, and when I work with Sean, he's always telling me, cool things that your family is doing. But tell us about the kids. How did this affect them? What have you learned from some of your other kids as well?
Well, so my son Sean, he's the oldest. He's 21. He just turned 21.
Yeah.
He is like the cool kid. Like he's in a band, a rock band. He going to school, going to work. He moved out of the house recently, which was sad. But what Sean has taught me throughout this journey is empathy and compassion. Out of all of my kids, Sean has a heart and a love for Keegan that just reminds me to see the hurt little boy in all of the chaos. It's hard to see when your kid's acting up. It's hard to see that little hurt child or scared child when they're acting so bad. I hate to say it, but I mean, like, it's hard. And Sean's always the one who brings that back to me. Just to speak a little bit more about him, he's committed to twice a month coming and hanging out with Keegan for a couple hours, just like a big brother, little brother thing. That's who he is. And, God has blessed me with him so much. My daughter Emma's underneath him. She just turned 19. Emma works as a preschool teacher, so she brings a lot of patience to the equation. She also is my biggest cheerleader. I'm very lucky to have her on my worst days because she'll come up and hug me and say, "It's okay, Mom. I know you're working hard. I see what you're doing, Mom. You're doing a good job." She gives me those affirmations that I need to hear. Without those, I don't know how I'd get through it. Kylie is my next. She just turned 16, and Kylie is our comedian. Like, really, she is truly her father's daughter. She is her father's daughter. She definitely has a temper like I do. She is very much like me too. She's got a temper. She's got a little sass to her, but she brings levity to the situation. She brings humor. She allows me after everything's been torn off the walls and holes have been punched in there to be like, "Mom, look at this. This is funny. This is our life. This is humorous." And
happy face with the big mouth with the hole. Yeah,
totally. She would totally take a Sharpie and do that. Like, that's what she does for us. And then, Keegan, besides just having these issues, which I did ask his permission before I shared this, because I never want to tell his story without him being a part of it.
Right.
He is also so brilliant, so curious about life, such a seeker. He strives to do good. He wants to do so good. Recently, he's been doing these beautiful things where he's coming up and hugging me and loving on me, which is not his normal thing. He's 12 years old and wants to crawl into bed with me. Like, that's such a gift. And then
it is his innate normal, but because of you guys, he was able to find his normal. He's
learning that. He's learning empathy. He's learning real attachment. And it's beautiful to watch. And then I got Dylan, who's 8 months younger than Keegan. They're the best of friends and the worst of enemies. We always say that. And Dylan's my charmer. Dylan has, from the day he's been born, charmed anyone that came into his path. So he brings a lot of joy to our life. And Lucy. Good Lord. Lucy, who I bawled my eyes out with when I was expecting her, the greatest gift in our family. Her first words were Kiki. She loves Keegan. Keegan's her best friend. And she is everything. She's a game changer for our family. Game changer.
I always say to Sean, because I hate that you guys say it all the time too. I love Lucy. I mean, they're all, it's just so, she's just the most adorable things. And I love when he posts how she'll say something and he's like, it just melts his heart. All right. What am I supposed to do with that? Like, she can whatever she's really cute. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Her big thing is these big words now. So she told me the other day, "You've really disappointed me." I'm like, "Oh, fancy pants."
Oh my gosh. Here's what I'm hearing. I just can't get over this title thing. I can't get over it because I don't even know you put a title on all that. It's so beautiful. I can see the reflection of you guys in your kids. One of your daughters is working in daycare. She's helping children. They're they're learning and growing so much from you guys, and it's such a beautiful thing. I mean, it's an eternal gift that you're giving them. I wanted to see if you would touch on this because I think it's very relatable. Girl, I can relate. Those moments when we do, okay, because I want to go back to what I've known about you is you don't want to come off as looking like self-righteous mom, like I've got all the answers. I'm not, you said, I don't want to look like I'm trying to show up like Facebook family because we're not.
We're not.
And you were very, very touched when you were vulnerable enough to talk about when you don't show up like the mom that you're very proud of when you go to bed at the end of the day. And I put my head on my pillow and I'm like, if you sit up in the middle of the night and go, what did I do? It's real.
Right.
But we can beat ourselves up so much. And you just said that you have a temper, and don't we all?
Mm-hmm.
How do you process that? What do you have to say to parents, to mamas who feel so much shame? We don't need to live in shame, you know? And so what do you do? What do you do to process it?
Shame and guilt are literally tools of the devil. So I really believe that. But boy, oh boy, I just cling on to those sometimes. At the end of the night, just the litany of all the things that you did wrong, right? Every woman does that. I know every woman does that because I've talked about it with my friends and family. We have to be easier on ourselves. We also have to take care of ourselves, right? I told you this story about one day I lost my bloody mind, literally lost my mind. I don't remember what the catalyst was. It could have been a dirty dish in the sink. Who the heck knows? But I remember I was so angry and so overwhelmed in life. This was at the height of everything going on with Keegan. I packed my crap in a bag and left. I ran away from home.
You ran away from home. I love it.
I ran away from home. Literally, and that's what I said. I told my family, I'm coming to Michigan. I'm running away from home. I'm going to stay there for the weekend, maybe longer. I don't know. As long as it takes for me to get myself in a place where I can mentally come back, spiritually come back, and take care of my kids, because I am not there. And I mean, my husband was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Peace out, dude. You go all the time. I'm out.
I'm getting on my tour bus."
On my tour bus, in my van, in my minivan.
And what?
In my dented minivan. And it was the best thing, the single-handedly best thing I've ever done in my life. It was, you know, I think my husband, poor him, he reflects on that as like, you lost your mind. But I didn't. I really found myself, because I'm like, I have put so many people's needs before my own. I have to also take care of myself. And I was able to come back. And I did not feel any embarrassment. I didn't. And I'll still say to this day, I don't. Every woman needs to run away from home.
It frequently is, you know, because you can't serve from an empty platter. It's so responsible. Even if it's a day, even if it's just to go out, even if it's to reset, because we feel like we have to have this warrior mentality. Again, our worth sometimes is attached to, oh, I've got this. I'm Wonder Woman. And if I'm not Wonder Woman, then I'm, oh my gosh, I already don't have a title. So now I got to be really, really good at this. And the definition of being really, really good at it isn't like letting yourself just completely, we will fall apart, but I mean, allowing that long term. It's so
well, and for me, that anger just bubbles underneath the surface, and it becomes an explosion, and that doesn't serve anyone well, right? Like, it really doesn't. I don't want to teach my kids to be a volcano. And you know, that day I would recommend running away, but I would not recommend running away while you cussed out everybody in your house on the front lawn like I did. I would recommend running away in a scheduled way.
You know what, Katie, we're laughing about this, but honestly, what I often do, because our two youngest, the girls, are there who are home right now, and for me, to them as a woman, I really try my best, and I know you're doing the same thing, to just show up in the most real, raw form. And when I'm not shining as a mom, I have lost it, and I've been embarrassed, and I've had to go back and say, yeah, I want you to remember all the things that I brought you as a mom. But when you're a mom or a wife and you're tapped and you're losing it, you're showing up like I just did. It's okay. Again, right. The Bible loaded with the word grace. We need grace. We are not going to show up perfectly. Nobody's Jesus. Nobody.
Right.
And we it's so beautiful to be able, even when you cussed everybody out and you're on the lawn and you've had, it's like, what if they didn't have that example and they did that one day and they were only trying to compare themselves to perfection? Their worth is going to be in the stinking tank because they're like, my mom didn't show up like this. There's so many families that it's perfection. We expect perfection. That's the way they run their families. That's fine. It's not to judge anybody.
Right.
When the benefit is when a child can see their parents show up, not so great, but teach grace and teach that Jesus gives us the chance to wake up every day.
And there's so much perfection in the imperfections. There really, really is. I know that's like a buzz thing to say, but there is. Screaming on the front lawn. I can remember saying, I'm that woman out on the front lawn screaming at my family.
What did you scream?
Oh, I screamed.
What did you say you were screaming?
I'm that woman in the front yard of my house screaming at my family. Like, I was the crazy woman that everybody sees on all the movies. And it was almost an out of body experience. I could not believe that was me.
You said a minute ago, you don't know what triggered it. Maybe it was a dirty dish. And I so badly wanted to ask you if it was a teacup. I'm just wondering, but it's never the thing.
Right.
It took me a long time to learn that. If there was explosions in our home, regardless of who it was from, I have to step back now and say, that's a byproduct of, like, it's all pent up. It's coming. It doesn't just explode for no reason. And you were probably on E.
Right.
You were just trying to take on so much. And I thank you, Katie, for sharing that vulnerability and that realness, because we need that in this world. And like you said, it is a dark world. Yes, all the obvious things going on. But what makes it so dark too is the baggage that we carry on our shoulders and a lot of people, there's a lot of stress going on, people feeling out of control because of what's going on in our world. But really, you and I had this conversation the other day about what we fear we draw near.
Right.
And what people are experiencing is the reason that lack of control in our world is bothering everybody so much is because sometimes we feel out of control in our own life already. And now things going on in our world, or the teacup or the dish, that are just sending us out on our lawn. You know what I mean? And so thank you. This is why I love you. And I was so excited to have you on, because you're bringing the real. You're bringing the real that we need. I had my girlfriend over and her husband the other night. And I said, I can't wait. I can't wait for Friday. Katie's going to speak some truth into our hearts. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Marlo. Really.
Yeah. Is there, I don't know if you guys are on Facebook. We can find you there. Find Sean's comedy. Sean Reynolds is on YouTube or whatever. You need a laugh. And I'm loving, speaking of Sean, I love what you said. Talk about the reflection of God's grace. You were so worried about going to him and saying, you're never going to guess what I said.
Right.
You are never going to guess. Go ahead, guess. No, you're not going to guess. That he had that grace inside of him to say, let's go to dinner.
Right. Right.
John and Carino's, that restaurant, is that what you said it was called?
Yep.
Well, it was forever. And so he had that notion inside of him, that Holy Spirit notion, and that gift of that Jesus gives us of grace, that to reflect that onto you. And then your lives were beautifully changed forever. Keegan was a beautiful addition to your family. And I love, you shared so much about what your other children have brought to your world.
Yeah.
So
and
much.
Just be open to God's calling. Don't be scared of it. Be open to it. Know that he's going to take care of you. Know that it's not going to be a guaranteed easy journey, but it'll be so worth it. It will be so worth it. I'm still in the thick of it, and I'm still saying it's worth it. It's worth it.
And one of the things that you said, I just dropped something. One of the things you said that was just probably killing you for a while, maybe, is you thought maybe it was a sin to doubt God.
Oh yeah.
And he wants that. Like that's relationship.
Yep.
That's real relationship. That's not just, we know he's our sovereign God, he's king, he's our Lord, he's our everything, but that's what a relationship is. And that's what he wants. wants a relationship. He just doesn't want you to just go around. Obviously, we want to please God, but it's not about what we do. It's about what we dig in and ask and surrender to him, lay it at the foot of the cross. And then he's like, now I can use this, because they want to learn from this. They want to seek me and bring what I have to offer through their story.
Yep.
You're amazing, girl.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anything that you want to add or share before we go?
Well, I have one sticky note that I came up with, and I'm going to say this. One sticky note that I wanted to put on is that in the Bible, do not be afraid is in there 365 times.
Wow.
One, do not be afraid for every day of the year. And I feel like in our world, in our struggles, in our suffering, keep that in mind. Bear that in mind. God's in control. We're not in control of this. None of this God's not in control of. So that's one last tidbit.
That was one of my favorite songs. Be not afraid, I go before you always. Come, follow me, and I will give you. I love that song. Love it.
Yep.
That is so powerful. 365, y'all. You can find one for every day of the year. Yes, that is so powerful. There's another song. You guys look this up. I had this on today when I was just spending time with Jesus this morning, and I played it for us, Katie, before we got started. It's "Who You Say I Am" by Hillsong. Look up that song, "Who You Say I Am." It's so good, and it just talks about how we are his child. And thank you so much for sharing your story of your children. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. And I know you've just touched some hearts, so thank you so much, Katie.
You're so welcome, Marlo. Thanks again.
Okay, hold on one sec. I'm going to put you backstage, and I'm going to come back to you in a second. I want to chat with you. So hold on. Thank you, Katie. Is that girl? So amazing. What a powerful story. So guys, so many nuggets. I can't wait to go back through and watch this and take notes and share little tidbits out there on Facebook, because there was so much truth spoken here. So, how are you feeling now from when we started? If you came on to this coffee chat, whether you're watching it live, so many of you watch it in the replay. How are you feeling now? If you felt hopeless, you needed some inspiration, you were beating yourself up, you were forgetting to give yourself grace. I said when I came on, I hope you're having a good week. And if you're not, then you're right where you need to be. We don't need to be okay all the time. We have the goodness of God. We have the grace that he puts in our life every day for a new beginning. And if you don't know him, there are so many that don't. And I've said a million trillion times that I used to not know him at all. I was just trying to please this mighty force in the sky. But until I learned to have relationship and ask and seek, game changer, my world has changed. And I pray that for all of you, that if you don't know the love of Jesus, you just ask. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go anywhere. You just sit in the quiet mess of your muck and you just say, God, I need you. I know you have the manna, just like a little breadcrumb for me. Do you have it for me today? So just seek it, and you'll think he found you, but he's already there. You will find him in it. So thank you so much to Katie and Sean Reynolds for their story and walking it and giving us the story so that we can just feel the hope and inspiration from the Reynolds family. So I can't wait for next week. But until then, I'll be praying for every single one of you. You are loved, and I hope you have a beautiful week, even if it's in the muck. Bye, everybody.